Welcome in, listeners. This is another episode of 406th and Goal with our new addition, Ben Harvey.
Howdy.
I think we just get right to the chase today, huh?
Yeah, let's
try and do a shorter episode. The last episode was very big. With it being draft season, the draft is coming up next week. We thought it would be fitting to talk about our favorite rookies. That being a fantasy sort of podcast we do, I think we're just going to go over skill players, considering you don't draft tackles. Are there some things that draft tackles and stuff? There might be, like pancake.
There might be. I know you can set your league up to draft defensive players, but
that would be too tough.
It's too many.
I'm not smart enough to do that. So yeah, Ben. I guess you could start with whatever. What are the positions you're going to cover today?
Yeah, so I'll be going over. We each kind of picked our top 5 at the 4 main skill positions, and I took tight end and running back, and you took quarterback and wide receiver.
That's right. So
let's.
Yeah, how about instead of us leapfrogging, I think maybe just try and give us an overview of. Let's start with, I think running backs are like a lot of people love to take their running backs early.
Yep.
So why don't you give the listeners an overview of these rookie running backs?
Yeah, looking at these running backs, it's an intriguing class this year. Starting with, well, should we go top to bottom, or should we start?
You know, maybe you could do bottom to top.
Bottom to top?
Yeah,
okay, yeah.
Why not?
So we'll go for my 5th ranking running back. I took Devin. I can never say his name.
Devon A-Chain.
Yeah, there it is. From Texas A&M. He's fast. His 40 is he ran a 4.32 40, and that is blistering fast, especially out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
He can hit a hole that's only there for a split second and be right through. I think in the NFL, he's a guy. If you're playing a dynasty league, I think he's a guy you might want to stash, or find on waivers. He probably won't get drafted.
At least in redraft leagues, I'm sure in some dynasty leagues it'll be a late round pick, right?
Yeah, I think the reason he falls, I like his talent. I like he's so agile too. Like
mm-hmm.
he can like turn. He can break ankles and just take it to the house, on any touch he has. I think he'll break camp with a team as at least a return man to start. He might start as like a 3rd down passer back.
Mm-hmm.
For his ceiling, he is Jamal Charles. Like I think so. He's
a little fast guy.
He's a little fast guy. He's got good hands, and he can just hit the hole. That's only he can see it, hit it, and he's gone.
Do you have how little he is? Do you know how little?
He's only 5'8", and 188, I think.
Yeah, he is small.
So he's pretty small. That's the big downside with him. But again, I mean, Jamal Charles was only 5'11" and 195, so
it's still a little bigger.
It's a little bigger. He could put on that weight easily.
Sure.
I think the floor is Darren Sproles, that 3rd down, passing down specialist.
The floor is Darren Sproles.
I think so.
Really? So you really like A-Chain?
I do. I think I drop him down just because of his size.
Okay.
But he's fun to watch. He's probably, of these 5 guys, he might be my favorite.
Yeah, it's just it could be a house call.
Yeah.
What do you think a good fit for do you have any idea what pro team you would like to see him on? Probably a passing team.
Yeah, probably a passing team. I would love to see him with Andy Reid.
I was with Andy. Yeah,
I mean, you could say that with any offensive player.
But I mean, you got Pacheco, who's in between the tackle runner, and then A-Chain can just take it to the house whenever.
Yeah, I think he would.
McKinnon.
I think he would do well in a timeshare in a McVay offense too, just like a offense that runs a lot more 5 wide, or pretty much that just throws the ball a lot.
Sure, like that type of West Coast offense.
Yeah, I think he would do really well there.
Okay.
I also could see him in Philly, just with that committee, the way that they have run things for however long, assuming they don't trade for Derrick Henry.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, that would be insane.
But I don't think he'll be on the board past the third round.
Really, I think I
Maybe
see him as
third,
like a third or
fourth.
fourth. Yeah. Just because of how fast he is, I think
Yeah,
somehow
and there are. I mean, the defensive side of the ball, which we're not covering. There's a lot of talent, and tackles always take up most of the first round. So
Right. So who do you have? So that's 5 is
Yep.
Devon Achane from Texas A&M.
Yep. And
Who
then
do you have at 4?
for number 4, I have Dwayne McBride from UAB.
Okay.
He's also smaller, but he's definitely more of a downhill runner. Unlike Achane, who's not going to break tackles. He's got to find that space. Dwayne McBride can get you that short yardage, that goal to go. I think that's what if he's going to break camp with the team, I think that's maybe what his usage is going to be.
Sure.
I think he fits in a committee, kind of like what Brian Robinson did for the Commanders last year.
Okay.
That early down, the power back. I don't expect him to go earlier than round 3 or 4 again. I think 4 is pretty late. But
I'm pretty sure
he's not. He's not going to start his career as a bell cow. I think he could turn into one.
Yeah, he's an interesting case because I'm pretty sure, was he the leading rusher in college last year, something crazy like that?
I think so, but again at UAB,
right, the little competition,
whatever,
great. And I'm pretty sure he's like, I
is.
think they played an SEC team,
Yeah.
and like he did not run well,
right?
which is
so
kind
that's
of
yeah.
I think it's a hard thing because it's like he could be really good, but it's like that's also UAB,
right?
O-line and everything.
I do like him, but I think what you could expect out of him is probably what Brian Robinson did when he got on the field last year. Ceiling, I put Maurice Jones-Drew, productive, smaller, kind of downhill runner. Jones-Drew was probably a little more flashy than Dwayne McBride has showed. I think his floor is pretty thick boy Eddie Lacy. Just because that power back can produce really well in the right role, behind the right line and given the right opportunities.
So would
from
you
a
rank
fantasy perspective?
Would you rank like McBride and Achane like pretty similar?
Yeah, it really was a toss up for me, and like I said, Achane, I dropped down just because of his size. Dwayne McBride, I think you'll see him be able to break tackles, get some yards after contact. Where I really don't see that from Achane. He's elusive, but yeah. But then we have jumping up. I took at number 3 Zach Charbonnet from UCLA. I think he's the safest. Well, aside from number 1, I think the guy I have at number 1, but I think he's probably the safest bet to.
I think so too.
To take on a lead or feature back
and like
role.
It's also interesting. Like I feel like there's a really big like tier shift.
There really, yeah. I mean,
and then a big one from 3 and 2 to
there
1,
was a ton of guys that I could have put in 4 or 5. I mean, there probably went down 5 or 6 guys that I could have put in there. And yeah, I think Zach Charbonnet.
I really like him.
He's a really talented runner. He's got decent hands, and he's pretty shifty, which I like. And he's handled a huge workload through college. He got like 20 plus touches per game. So at the very least, like he'll grind out what you need out there. I don't know how he is with the open field. He doesn't seem to have the open field juice where he can hit a hole and that
he's
Tony
big.
Pollard. Yeah, he's a big boy. He doesn't have that Tony Pollard breakaway speed. If he did, and I know speed isn't always something you can improve on in the NFL, but if he did, I think he would be right up there with Bijan in this draft. But I think a second or third round pick to a team that might be looking for just a solid 3-down back.
There've been like two teams that come to mind. Anytime I think of Charbonnet, it's like, okay, he would look really good in a Dallas uniform, being like the complimentary role
I think that would be
to Pollard, because Pollard's not going to handle 20
No,
catches
and he's not,
or 20 carries a game.
No, and he's never been that.
And he's just small.
They tried to do goal line stuff with him last year and it didn't work.
And another thing that I think was he reminds me so much of James Conner.
Yeah.
So he could be the younger, just like James Conner.
Go out to Arizona.
Yeah, I mean, why not? Like Connor's like 27, but he gets hurt all the time.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he's going to be wanting a little more money than Arizona wants to pay him at some point.
Yeah, he'll be interesting. His ceiling, I put LaShawn McCoy. He can just grind out carries. His floor is probably like DeMarco Murray after he left Dallas.
So Philly DeMarco Murray?
Philly DeMarco Murray, okay. And wherever he finished. Didn't he finish up in Tennessee, I think?
Oh, I think he did, yeah.
Ahead of Derrick Henry.
Yeah, he was everywhere. Yeah, he started before Derrick Henry, right?
Yeah.
And then Derrick Henry took over?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
I think just that lack of breakaway speed, if he can't make guys miss in the second level, he's not going to. And that's what you saw with DeMarco Murray. It felt like he lacked that ability to
run away from
defenders.
Sure.
And in Dallas, he had that monster offensive line and
right.
lost that as soon as he left. But
well, if there's one thing that your number 2 guy has different than Charbonnet, it is the breakaway speed.
It is the breakaway speed. It's Jahmyr Gibbs from Alabama. He's explosive, fun to watch. Mm-hmm. I think he'll stick in the NFL as long as, running backs stick in the NFL.
Right.
At the very least, he's going to be an explosive pass-catching option out of the backfield. But anytime he touches the ball, he's a home run threat. And he's bigger than Devon Shane. I think he still is on the smaller side as far as running backs go, but I think it's if he puts on 10 or 15 pounds of muscle, I mean, he could be a 3-down back. I don't know. Steelers come to mind. I know they have Najee, but right now, imagine Najee on the early downs and Jahmyr Gibbs backing him up, coming in, change of pace, whatever.
Or I think Cincinnati maybe.
Cincinnati, yeah. Is Joe Mixon?
Well,
what's going on with him?
I know he's in a lot of legal issues, and I think pretty soon they're going to have to pay Jamar, T. Higgins, and Joe Burrow.
I think
and Mixon, and one of them's going to be out, and I think it's going to be Joe Mixon.
Yeah.
Because it's
well, and especially
running backs don't last as long. Why not just get rid of him? Especially with all the legal troubles, kind of makes it an easy choice.
And Gibbs could step in there. I mean,
they did lose P. Ryan, so they might want a bigger back. But I mean,
well, they signed someone. I can't remember who it is off the top of my head. But yeah, I think he's going to be a late first round to mid second round type guy. Yeah. So, I mean, Cincinnati would fall in there. That would be interesting to watch.
Would be.
They don't have a ton of needs on the offensive side of the ball.
But just adding another one would just be why not?
Yeah, why not? For his ceiling, Austin Eckler. I mean, I think he fits that role pretty well, Eckler does for Los Angeles. But they're different body styles, but I feel like
just rack up catches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Playing against him in a PPR is not going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
His floor is Darren Sproles again, just an explosive pass catcher, return guy again. It seems like more and more the young speedy guys are the ones that are starting the year as returners. You saw with Jahan Dotson last year in Washington. But yeah, at number 1, Bijan Robinson from Texas, and that's obvious. He's that guy. I mean, he's the best the best prospect since Saquon. And as far as downhill runner, I probably since Zeke. I mean, he's not as shifty as Saquon is. But he's a stud. He's going to be he should be a top 10 pick. There's plenty of teams that need him. There's also plenty of teams that are going to go for these quarterbacks that Aiden's going to cover in the top 10, which is a little bewildering. But if he's given the opportunity to be a feature back, I think he could be one of the most fun backs to watch in the league right out the gate. He's so powerful, so strong, and he can take a play from, looks like it should be done at the line of scrimmage, and he could turn it into 5+ yards pretty easily. I think he's going to be a stud in this league, I think. And I don't know, if I'm his coach, I'm giving him the rock 200, 250 times and see what happens. He also broke 104 tackles last season.
Oh my gosh.
So I think he's one of the more can't miss prospects in recent memory.
For real. No, I agree. And I think what's super interesting is we were talking about it earlier today, like I keep hearing that he's not I don't think he's as talented as Saquon, like the polarizing prospect, but he's like for sure as good or as the best prospect we've had since him. And like everyone's projecting him to be like a top, like in the 20s or the late teens.
Yeah, I think there's teams that are gonna take a quarterback that really probably should get some more skill position players.
I think him at I think it's 8. Is that where the Falcons are picking? 8 or 9?
I think so. Oh, that'd be
I think on the Falcons would be nice because that would give Desmond Ridder as many weapons as he has.
Arthur
Because Bijan's also a good receiver, and he came from Tennessee, where he ran the ball with Henry. So it's like, why not get another one?
Arthur Smith is gonna. Yeah, he's gonna like crap his pants. He'll be so happy.
If people keep going like, and if you're one of the people that's like, oh, but they have Tyler Algier and to be like, stop. Like he is so much better. Patterson's old.
Isn't he like 35?
I think Bijan to Atlanta would be a nice fit.
Really, really good for him and fantasy
wise would be awesome.
What Breece Hall was doing last year in New York, I think is what you can expect to be at least like the minimum of what Bijan does.
But with like great catching like upside.
Oh yeah.
Can you imagine just Ridder being afraid and just throwing little dump offs to Bijan? It would be nice.
The new Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
I think his ceiling is Adrian Peterson. I do think that.
Oh my.
I know it's a reach. Hey, I get excited. I want to be optimistic. I mean, if he stays healthy and he's on a team that gives him the opportunity to be a feature 3-down back, like I don't see any reason he couldn't be that guy. Those are two big ifs, especially in today's NFL, where the 3-down back is becoming more and more rare. I think his floor is Zeke, not recent Zeke, but Zeke before he showed up 40 pounds heavier to
training camp. Yeah.
He's really exciting. I'm really curious to see where he goes. He's definitely. He's going to live up to the hype. I think that's pretty.
I think him there or to like Philly would be really nice.
Philly would be nasty.
But that really affects Hurts a lot.
Yeah.
Hurts had 18 rushing touchdowns last year, so that'd be a mess.
Miles Sanders had a bunch though. Didn't he have?
I don't know if he had a ton.
Close to double digits? I thought so.
Remember. Maybe. I wasn't really following Miles Sanders a lot last year.
Yeah, it's that Penn State thing, I guess.
Who should I cover? What should I cover?
Let's go with wide receivers.
Wide receivers?
Yeah,
okay.
Let's do it.
We'll go with wide receivers now. This one's, I think it's pretty similar to the running backs, whereas like you've got your top 3, and then you really, a lot of the other ones are just like fringe second, third round, even like fringe first round picks. Like some of these guys could make it into the first, and you'd be like, oh, okay, like I guess why not. Starting off with 5, I was struggling with this one because I'm like, I don't love him. I think I kind of like his teammate a little more. But I kind of threw him in here just because of his speed. But I have Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. Really lengthy guy, really thin. I'd have him I'd have him ranked lower than 5 if it was like any other class. It's kind of it's not a terrible class, but it's definitely weaker than years we've seen. He is, as far as I've seen, definitely a one-trick pony, kind of like a Will Fuller type player of like
Stretches
just
the field and
vertical,
that's about it.
just burner, like just long-legged. I'm gonna catch these 80-yard touchdowns for you. So yeah, deep threat pony is what I'll call him.
Deep threat pony.
Fast, lots of touchdowns, lots of long touchdowns. But like I said earlier, very thin, limited route tree. So I don't know. I think from a fantasy perspective, people are going to be like, oh, that's awesome. This guy reminds me of Christian Watson and like this stuff. And it's like I think he's the most boom-busty player that you could really look at. Like this guy could either be like a home run, like this is a great pick, or it's going to be like he just can't do anything.
I agree with that. He's fast, but you don't see a lot of. I mean, you don't see a lot of his like contested catches or anything like that turning out
right
well unless it's a blown.
And I really hate when people do this of like take away this game, take away that game, and like look at his stats. But it's like I wonder, like it's because it's stupid because like he did do it, but it's like did he ever really have? I didn't watch a ton of Tennessee honestly.
I didn't either.
But it's like that huge game he had. I don't remember him having anything close to that again. Because didn't he have like 4 or 5 touchdowns or something? Nuts?
Yeah, he had that. From what I remember, I didn't look too much into it, but yeah,
we've researched this a lot.
Yeah.
maybe throw away what we say about Jalen Hyatt. Anyways, I think he would really benefit from a team who just launches the ball.
Mm-hmm.
So like the Chargers might be nice as like just like I said, a burner on the outside, kind of let Mike Williams and Keenan Allen just kind of maybe have more single coverage and do their things in the middle of the field.
The only thing with the Chargers is they're not going to run. Well, Kellen Moore there, it's an interesting shift, from the just basically throwing the ball all the time to what Kellen Moore did in Dallas was run first. I think he ran over 50%.
Sure.
So I don't know that's a. I guess it depends on what Kellen Moore brings to the Chargers.
Well, if he were smart, it's like why not like let Herbert throw the ball?
Yeah.
You saw it last year. Like they didn't let him throw the ball and they lost a lot.
Yeah.
I could also see him on the Chiefs, honestly. Just like why not just get another big fast guy? Like if it doesn't work, it's like Pat Mahomes is still going to throw for 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. It's like
they'll find someone else to take.
He could be even maybe at his. I had his floor as Will Fuller, but like now even thinking about it, it could be just like an MVS. Like he had some good games and he's really fast, and like you could get that.
Right.
But ceiling is like I think it's pretty obvious. He's like a Deshaun Jackson type, just burner, really light, but you're not going to see him take big hits. You're just going to see him outrun people. So that's 5. Jalen Hyatt. 4, another guy I'm not crazy high on again. I don't know. I don't even know why I put him in here. It's just like I just think I like him a little more than all the other guys, but I don't love him. Quentin Johnson. I actually used to really like him. I was like, oh man, like he's nice. But the thing that really scared me away was that national championship game. Because I think he only had a catch for like 2 yards. He was just like a complete no-show.
I mean, that whole offense. I mean, that line just got obliterated. And what's the quarterback?
Max Duggan.
Yeah, he looked terrible. He could not put the ball where it was catchable for anyone. But even that, I mean, you're not getting the separation. He wasn't.
No.
He wasn't. He didn't look good in that. No one looked good from TCU in that game. That game was over by the halfway through the second quarter.
But yeah, so like, as a Patriots fan, I have a lot of nightmares and horrible flashbacks to N'Keal Harry, just like the big contested catch guy who doesn't have like great breakaway speed, and that's kind of what Quentin Johnson reminds me of. I think he ran like the mid 4.5s, high 4.5s, which I guess isn't terrible, like being a big guy. But a lot of people are talking about him being like this athletic freak, and it's like he is going to win some jump balls, but he's not going to break away from anybody.
He's not going to be the Calvin Johnson.
No. So I think once again he's kind of a one-trick pony of like the contested catch guy. So yeah, I think that could be a problem. And his pro day was pretty bad. He had dropped a lot of balls.
Yeah,
So it's kind of scary. That. It's like I think a lot of people are gonna be intrigued by like, okay, this guy's like, he's muscly and he's big, so like, why not just give him a shot? But I think once again it is a scary pick. So I have him as like a ceiling of like a Mike Williams type player. Like he could potentially have huge games and then be a no-show, catch these disgusting catches where you'd be like, oh my goodness, like he's gonna break out soon, and never quite reach there. And then floor, it's like it's a bad one, but like a slower Brashad Perryman. I remember a lot of people loved Perryman coming out of UCF.
Yeah.
This big, fast guy, and he was definitely slower than him, but
never worked out.
Never worked out, unfortunately. So Quentin Johnson at 4, I have him more as like a. I think actually he'll be like an end to mid of the first round pick. I think a lot of people are going to.
You think wide receivers are going to the top wide receivers are all going to go pretty high?
I think the top 2 will, or at least one. I don't know. I think a lot. I'm not a professional, but a lot of these mocks seem like kind of just like outrageous to me. Of like JSN falling to 21 and stuff like that. Like people love their receivers, so I think there's going to be some reaches for sure. So I think he'll go end of first. I think Hyatt could surprise people by going end of first, but I think he's more of a second round pick to me.
Yeah, I think Hyatt will probably go third.
Really?
At the earliest, and Quentin Johnson mid second.
Really?
I think there's a lot. I think that's fair. I think that's why they should be. But
right.
I think there's a lot of talent on the non-skill positions, and especially on the defensive side of the ball this year. But
yeah, so now like the running backs had, I think this is where the tier break is. Like these guys, sure. I do like all three of them. I really like. Once again, being a Patriots fan, we need some skill positions. I wouldn't mind really any of these guys going there.
It's true.
And I said Johnson was one at one point, like the top receiver, and I think at one point I liked Addison the most. So it's like these guys really jump around a lot, but I think I'm really set with with the guys and how I rank them. But yeah, Jordan Addison from USC at 3. The year before last, he played at Pittsburgh with Kenny Pickett. Mm-hmm. And he was really good. He won the Biletnikoff Award as the nation's best receiver. Only reason I have him ranked lower is like I'm not really too concerned about like receivers and their slight build. Like that's not a big deal to me. Like Devonta Smith's really thin.
Just play
Jalen Waddle's thin.
Play him in the slot.
Like whatever. But they should have breakaway speed, right? It's like Addison, I think he ran like a 4.5, which like is okay. But just being smaller, it's like that's just kind of scary. Like when you got a smaller guy, you're like, well, you better be able to run these guys. So at that 40 time, I kind of have him as a ceiling of like a Deontay Johnson type player, like really savvy route runner. But I think he does have better hand. I don't think he'll drop as much as Deontay does.
No.
With a floor of like a Jarvis Landry in New Orleans, where he'll get 6 catches for like 40 yards, like nothing spectacular, but like get a handful of catches. So yeah, he has good footwork. He can run complex routes. And actually he actually is like good after the catch. Like his play speed's definitely faster than like his 40 time. I was watching this YouTube video and it was really funny because it was like Pickett talking about him. He was like, "Don't be surprised if he runs in like the high 4.2s." And like he ran a lot slower than that. But I mean,
a 4.49.
I'm not sure if that's him like trying to hype his boy up or if like he actually looks fast on the field. So yeah, Jordan Addison. I think I can see him in like Buffalo. I think him in Buffalo would be a nice number 2. I don't think Gabe Dave's really going to be the 2 much longer.
I think it'd be interesting the way that teams are trying to follow the Burrow Chase model. I wouldn't be surprised if Pittsburgh takes him.
Okay.
Where they're drafting 5th, mid-teens, right?
I think you're right. I think mid-teen. I think they're like 16, 17.
And I think because of the way that these 3 wide receivers can really.
That actually wouldn't be bad because he played with Kenny Pickett.
Yeah, he played with Pickett.
Pittsburgh is... They're 17, yeah.
They're 17. I think he'll still be there.
I think that's a good spot for him, too.
And I guess I don't really see what other huge needs Pittsburgh has.
They just need some offensive players. They need to
they
get
just traded away,
Pickett.
Didn't they just trade away a receiver?
Well, they traded Claypool last year.
I thought I saw that they made another trade this offseason. But yeah,
Alvin Austin, maybe.
Maybe.
I don't even remember.
Deontay Johnson isn't the answer there. George Pickens is a dog, but I think it would be awesome if. I mean, George Pickens, and if Addison has that connection with Kenny Pickett, I think that's a really good fit.
So yeah, Jordan Addison at 3. I think he'll go top 20.
I think so.
Number 2, he's. I think a lot of people have mixed reviews on him, but I have Zay Flowers, number 2, from Boston College. The level of competition is a little different, being from Boston College, where these other guys are playing at USC, Ohio State. But like he obliterated people, and with very poor quarterback play. He's fast. He's super shifty. Like his run after the catch is like awesome. He has great concentration on deep balls. He is on the smaller side, which is like I told you I don't really care about.
Yeah.
He's short, so he's not gonna do any like jump balls, but like he has this speed to like overcome that. I think he ran like the high 4.3s.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure.
I didn't know.
I don't think he ran a 40. It was like high 4.3s, low 4.4s. So it's pretty good. He reminds me. I think his ceiling could be like a Tyler Lockett type player, smaller guy, like reliable. Gets deep down the field. With like his floor is like a Travis Benjamin type. Once again,
Travis Benjamin. Oh man.
Another fast guy. I hope he doesn't go to the Browns because that would be.
Yeah.
I'd be very sad. I don't think he's quite to the level of Kadarius Toney, but like there is some serious like shiftiness that he shows.
I think he's very comparable to Jahan Dotson. At least his play in Boston College. Dotson did a lot of the same stuff. They needed a home run play. They dialed up a wide receiver screen because the quarterbacks sucked.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's probably a good comp.
Dude, and watching his highlights, I know it's just highlights to be all the best plays, of course, but like there was some that was just like, oh, that was like super nice. So I think he'll go top 20 as well. And then number 1, this has changed for a lot of people, especially after the combine. Number 1 is Jackson Smith and Jigba from Ohio State. When all him, JSN, Chris Olave, and Garrett Wilson all played college ball together, and they were asked between the three of them like who the best is, and they said it was Smith and Jigba. This was like when they were in college, not trying to like hype them up or boost his stock, but they all like legitimately thought that, and they both went top 15.
Yeah, I think he's an easy top 15 pick.
A lot of people knocked him for like his speed, but it's like I don't think he's not that slow. People can be like, he's not running like a 4.6. It'd probably be like a high 4.4 maybe.
Yeah.
But he's super super good route runner. Ran an incredible like 3-cone drill, which was like Bill Belichick loves. I'm just like, hey, why not trade up for him? He has really soft hands. He lacks, like a lot of pros say, lacks elite deep speed. But I mean, I'm not comparing him to Justin Jefferson at all. But so did Justin Jefferson.
Right.
So yeah, he's not gonna be a burner of like, oh sweet, like you get a fancy alert. It's like, oh wow, 80-yard touchdown from JSN. Like that's probably not gonna happen. But like he's gonna get a lot of catches, and like his quarterbacks are gonna love him because he's just like smart, and he does have the capability of big games. Like we saw that huge like 300-yard game he had or whatever last year. I think he definitely has a skill also to be like offensive rookie of the year.
Oh, I think so.
So I think it's gonna be between him and Bijan, honestly. Yeah. So like, don't be surprised if that happens.
Whichever of them gets the opportunity to be the guy,
right,
wherever they go.
So yeah, don't be surprised if it's a top 15 pick. I think a good spot for him would be if the Texans drafted a quarterback. If the Texans drafted Stroud and then drafted him at 12, like that would be really nice. I don't think they're going to take him, Stroud, but
That's an interesting thought. They do like
they can.
Teams are looking at that Burrow Chase model.
Right. The AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts, like best friends, college teammates, whatever. So
interesting. That hadn't even crossed my mind. If they take Stroud, if Smith and Jigba is still on the board at 12,
I think he might be too. At 12,
I'll take him.
Yeah. So, anyways, those are my top 5 receivers. I think we're gonna take a quick break, real quick, and then a quick break, real quick, and then we'll be right back.
Sounds good.
Cool. Thank you. I'm just checking to see if it's still recording. I don't want it to like.
Nick can edit this out.
Yeah, it's recording.
Cool.
It would be kind of nice, Stroud and Jason would be nice.
I mean, they have so many needs though. That team is a dump. But
they need a receiver.
That's a good.
Their number 1 right now is what's his name? He was number 2 last year. He was like I can't remember his name, dude.
He was the late waiver wire ad, but he only gave it like 9 points a game.
Yeah, Abby picked him up.
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
I'm not sure.
I don't know. All right. You ready? Thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah, welcome back.
Yeah.
I guess.
Welcome back. Ben has been so kind to cover as the tight ends as well. Which, looking for him, this is a very deep class, so I don't think it was very hard trying to find 5, but I think it is hard to figure out who the 5 are.
I think that's true. I do think it is a little more top heavy than maybe on. It's definitely deep, but I do think that the top 3 guys again, and the rest are not far behind. But there's too many names to pick through.
I think it's one of those years where if you took any of the 5 first, like was the first tight end, you'd be like, oh yeah, I see it.
And there's a lot of talent. You can definitely dream on some of these guys being studs, especially in this era of
just
lacking tight ends. I mean, in the NFL,
sure.
Tight end usage seems, at least fantasy wise, you can definitely dream on these guys. So it was fun to go through this. So we'll start at number 5 from Georgia, Darnell Washington. He is a big boy. He's 6'7", 270. You're never going to see him line up off the line pretty much ever. But I think he has a good fit for a team that, I don't know, he's from Georgia. Atlanta is the first team that comes to my mind. Just a run-first team that's going to try and build play action. And that's where he got most of his work last year.
Is Pitts a good blocker?
He's fine, but what if they could use Pitts
more of as a wide receiver,
which is his best. I mean, he's a fine blocker, but
that's not what you draft him for.
You didn't draft. Yeah, the hype around Kyle Pitts was he was a wide receiver that can play tight end. You know.
Yeah. Just a physical freak, but I mean Washington is too.
But Washington, I mean, you're never going to line him off. And imagine having your 2 tight ends, short yardage set, just the power I formation, and you have Darnell Washington. And, I mean, Kyle Pitts is a good blocker.
And so Bijan running behind them.
And Bijan. Yeah, I don't think that, they could get Bijan and Darnell. That would be fun to watch, and Arthur Smith will pee his pants while he's pooping his pants.
That's right.
It's a 2-for-1 deal.
I know, that would be insane.
I think he's a 3rd-round guy, just because he lacks that ability to. I mean, he's so big. He lacks the ability to line up off the ball.
Yeah,
off the line.
I do think someone's gonna take him way earlier than 3rd, just because of he's a physical specimen. What did he run? 4.6 or something? 4.7? He was like really fast. Remember. Sorry, keep going. I'm not trying to steal your
yeah, I mean he's definitely talent. You can dream on this guy being just over the middle off of play action, down in the red zone. It's like Will Disley, but he actually gets more playing time.
Okay.
His ceiling, I said J.J. Watt when he lined up in tight end, just because J.J. Watt's just a little bit bigger. I think J.J. Watt's 6'6" actually, but he weighed more. Just a freak. His floor, he transitions full time to tackle. He's gonna play in the league, and I think he'll be around. And I hope he sticks at tight end, because that would be so much. I think on the right, a team like the Falcons or the Titans, I think he could be a huge red zone threat. He's going to be that 16th round tight end I draft in the 16th.
16th round tight end you draft in the 16th?
Yes. In the redraft league, that dart throw if you don't get Kelsey.
Right.
I think I'm probably going to take Kelsey if he falls to me at 11. So.
Okay.
Just so you know.
That's okay.
Yeah, you're not getting him at 12. Number 4, Sam Laporta from Iowa. He's a pretty good route runner. Generally speaking, pretty good hands. All the scouting reports on him, it's say you got to hit him in the chest, but to be fair to him, what was the court? Petras.
Oh yeah.
At Iowa, he's not it. He's terrible to watch. I hated watching Iowa play on offense. Fun to watch him on defense last year, but he broke an insane amount of tackles he broke 20 tackles and he only had 58 catches last year.
Oh my.
So over the middle, this guy again.
Almost half of his catches.
So he didn't come away with too many contested balls, but again, that's contested balls come back on the quarterback too. I think some. It's a fun stat, but if your quarterback can't lead you away from the defender, you're going to have a lot more contested balls that you're not going to come up with, and that the defender's not going to come up with. But so he's an interesting prospect. I think he'll go 2 or 3 or a second or third round. I think his ceiling is probably Evan Ingram, just that solid safety blanket over the middle. He can break away a little bit. He did run a 4.58 40 for a tight end.
That's booking it. That's fast.
It's kind of nice. I think his floor is Hunter Henry. It's not a huge range there, but Hunter Henry was a big prospect. I remember he was the Antonio Gates heir, and
yeah, he was a round 1 pick, wasn't he?
I think so. And he's been fine in the NFL. It's just part of the transition away from to more of your open sets. Just five guys on the line. I think that hurt Hunter Henry a little bit, but yeah, I do like Sam Laporta probably a lot more than most people, just because I account a lot of some of the negatives that the scouting reports are saying to Spencer Petras throwing the ball to him. So
sure.
Yeah, number 3, Michael Mayer from Notre Dame.
At 3, huh?
At 3. I think he's probably the safest. If you're looking for a classic type tight end, I think he's probably your guy. He can block well. He's a good safety valve. Over the middle, he can run seam routes pretty well. That's what you want from your tight end. Get that chemistry with your quarterback. If your reads aren't open, your tight end's going to be there if you didn't have to pick up a blitz or whatever. I think he'll be a late first round, middle second round. I think his ceiling is the lowest of the top 3 guys that I have here, but I think his floor is the highest. His ceiling being Jason Witten, I think. Something like that. His floor, kind of Mike Gesicki. I said last year's Mike Gesicki, where he was there and he provided, statistically not a ton, but he was always there if you needed it.
Yeah.
But when you have Jalen Waddle and Tyreek running routes, like your first or second reader, always going to be open.
Right.
So you didn't need him too much.
And if they're not open, you're still just going to try it because it's them too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You got 2 of the top 5 receivers in the league.
Right. I think that's fair. Like, yeah, definitely Mike Gesicki last year just like used more of a blocker sort of deal and just caught short passes and dump offs or whatever.
Yeah. As long as he has a better gritty, that's all I care about. Number 2, Luke Musgrave from Oregon State. I like him a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I would have put him at number 1, except for the knee injury last year in the second game that he played. So he only played in 2 games. He was caught 11 for 15 for 11 passes. Caught 11 of 15, for 169 and a touchdown in the Pac-12. So it's pretty impressive for a tight end. For a tight end to have involvement in the Pac-12, it's pretty impressive. He looked really good in those 2 games. Assuming he can recover well from, the knee injury, I couldn't find exactly what it was. It was undisclosed. But I think he should fit into the NFL nicely. He can improve underneath as a route runner, but he should be able to command some attention from opposing secondaries. He can outrun linebackers. He was capable of being a vertical option, which if Travis Kelce wasn't in Kansas City, this guy would fit so well, I think, in Andy Reid's offense. I think a mid to late first round is where he'll end up going. At the very latest, middle of the second round. But his ceiling, I think, is Mark Andrews. He can make plays happen, and his floor, Eric Ebron, just that's a huge swing, but he could be the second best tight end in the league or just a huge bust.
Maybe you're second best on the team.
Yeah, and part of that I count to just only playing 2 games with an undisclosed knee injury, so hopefully
he could be a gem.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough because he does look really good.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And again, if he hadn't had that knee injury, I probably would have put him, if he'd have been able to play a full season, or I could have found out what that knee injury was. I probably would have put him first, but didn't. Instead, Dalton Kincaid from Utah. I think this one was obvious.
I think it's tougher. I think it's harder with a lot of people have Kincaid as the one or Mayer as the one. But I think it really depends on what kind of player you're looking for.
Yeah, there's 3 very different players between Mayer, Musgrave, and Kincaid.
Mm-hmm.
He is small. That's my biggest concern as a tight end. He's only 240, but he's the best receiving tight end in this class, and he split out and played off the line quite a bit, which is really fun. I really want to see one of these guys hit in the NFL. I think his ceiling is what Kyle Pitts should be. If it weren't for Arthur Smith and Marcus Mariota.
Mm-hmm.
His floor, O.J. Howard, where he'll stick in the league, but he'll kind of be that number 2 guy for a while. Or I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe lose a little bit of pounds, and maybe adjust to the slot if he can't adjust to blocking these freak edge rushers that are in the NFL. Because of how athletic he is, I don't see that being too far off course if he doesn't work out as a tight end. I'd expect him to go 15. I think picks 15 to 20 are the teams that need him the most, or Green Bay could use a tight end. Washington could use a tight end. Detroit could use a tight end. Tampa could use a tight end.
Yeah.
Seattle could use an athletic tight end.
Right. There's really anybody could take a tight end as long as it's not like Kansas City.
Yeah. Yeah, Kansas City is the only team that really shouldn't. I don't think.
I think there's a couple. It's like, well, maybe
Dallas
like
moves on, but that's just me. More on that in the future after I draft Jake Ferguson. I'm excited. The top part of this class is, Kincaid, Musgrave, and Michael Mayer are all going to be fun to watch and intriguing, depending if they get the reps. Just intriguing bench stashes, especially if you don't get Kelsey or Andrews.
Is that how you're looking at the rookie tight ends? Is like, I think a lot of people would be like,
a little bit,
take him really early because he's a first round pick. But with tight ends, would you say you would wait till just like?
If I don't, so I'm at the point where if I don't get Kelsey, and I don't get Andrews in the third round, I'm waiting till round 16.
I'm pretty much there too.
I'll take a throw on. Well, I might have to bump mine up. There's one guy that I really like, but there's a bunch of guys that are in the same boat as Jake Ferguson. That it really is a dart throw.
Right. And I think a lot of people did that. Like last year, I think I took
Irv. And he was fine. He dropped a goose egg, but then he was fine until he hurt himself. But thankfully, I got that Schultz trade in.
Right, and it's Kelsey.
You rolled with Gerald Everett.
Right, and it was fine for me.
Yeah.
He was like 9th or 10th, and that's all I wanted.
It's Kelsey and then Andrews and then
whoever.
Take a shot and whoever you think is gonna get some red zone targets that week. Schmevin.
Evan Ingram. So yeah, with these guys, basically, don't reach for them.
No,
they could be fine players, but it's like you have no idea. The tight end is such a hard position to figure out that there's no for sure or safe picks.
And don't take Dalton Schultz in Houston. I think that's
gonna be bad too.
That's you take him in the 5th round, you're gonna be upset.
Schultz is just a guy. He just worked well in your.
Dak loves his tight ends, and that's why Schultz hit in Dallas. That's just
your opinion.
Quick take. If you don't get Travis Kelce in the 1st round and you don't get Mark Andrews in the 3rd round, I don't want to take him in the 2nd round.
I wouldn't either.
I'm not even sure if I'd take him in the 3rd round, honestly. If
there's just too many people,
especially right now with everything with Lamar, if he's even going to play.
Right. There's just a lot of.
We can talk about that
some other time.
Let's get to these. Okay. What everyone really wants to listen to.
The quarterback.
The big stacked quarterback class.
The best
2023.
The best quarterback class we've had in forever.
Hot take.
That's definitely no one believes that.
But yet 4 of these guys are projecting for top 10.
Yeah, top 15 at least.
Top 15.
Yeah, this is if you couldn't tell by our joking or you couldn't tell by how we were talking, it's a joke that this is the best quarterback class in a long time. It's pretty average. I saw there was an NFL little, if the 2023 class and 2024 class were combined, here's what your first round board would look like. And it showed Bryce Young as the 3rd quarterback overall behind Drake May and Caleb Williams.
And Arch Manning.
Yeah. And Quinn, what's his name? Quinn Ewers or something from Texas.
Yeah, did you see he's starting over Arch Manning?
That's interesting. Yeah. Anyways, at 5, I think this guy is probably one of the more boom-bustier players too as a quarterback. I actually have Will Levis at 5.
I think that's fair.
A lot of people love him just because he's you just see all of his shirtless pics and he's just completely jacked and hot, sure, whatever. Looked good on the field.
On the field and off the field.
But I think you can last year he didn't look great, but the year before you'd be man, he's looking pretty good. But it's they also had Wandale who was 2nd round pick. A lot of people have like the third or fourth ranked quarterback, obviously behind like it really depends how you view Richardson, but he's for sure behind Stroud and Bryce Young.
I think so, yeah.
So they have him as third or fourth. I think there's another guy that we'll get to after this that I like a little more, but I'm not crazy. Yeah, I'm not crazy high on him. For one, he's just weird. Like the whole putting mayo in the coffee thing is like super just odd to me, and the eating the banana with the peel on.
Is he left-handed?
Weird. No, I think he's a righty.
Oh, okay.
That would have just add to it.
Left-handers are weird.
They don't do well. Like
no.
There's
well,
a whole stat to
Mike
that.
Vick did, but that's about it.
But he does have like a lot of people are gonna again drool at he has good size. He's tall enough, like 6'2", 6'3". He has a cannon, and like he's jacked and enough athleticism to like, I don't know, probably get you like 300 rushing yards, 400 rushing yards a year, maybe like Pat Mahomes type rushing. But with that, it's like the one thing he struggles at is being a quarterback.
Which is what he's being drafted to do.
So it's like he has good arm strength, but he struggles to find rhythm in passing, and does have poor accuracy, i.e. Zach Wilson. The cannon like just runs around and like looks the part, like has all the tools, but just can't get it together. There's another huge red flag. It was interesting. I found out that his ratio of like touchdowns to interceptions was like falls below the 2-to-1 mark. So it's like that's I think more than half of his touchdowns were like picks.
Not what you want to see, especially for a guy coming out of Kentucky. Like I get it's SEC, but still.
but still. So I mean, he shows promise. He does have like the athletic traits, which is why he's going to get drafted high. But he will be a work in progress. Maybe a lot of people will be like, but Aiden, Josh Allen was a work in progress. Like he was really bad, and it's like, okay, yes, but for every Josh Allen you get, there's going to be 15 Zach Wilsons.
Well, and Josh Allen really did get coached up. I mean, once McDermott went there, and I think that was huge.
Mm-hmm.
You saw what McDermott did in Philly with. I mean, they won the Super Bowl with him, right? I think he was there when they won the Super Bowl.
Maybe I don't remember.
But he was there with Wentz, and you've seen what happens to Wentz. I think that's a big part of Josh Allen's success. But yeah, I agree.
He is a risk. I mean, like if you can, like I could be very wrong. Like I'm not a pro. I'm just saying how I see it. But it's like he could turn into something. Like if you get him all the right weapons and like coach him up, like why not? But I'm just not buying it because like I said, there's so many other players that people have drafted that are just like he's supposed to be the next guy and just wasn't.
Well, and a big part for me, this is maybe just a little bias coming through, but as a Nittany Lion fan, Penn State elected to keep Sean Clifford, who was terrible, as their starting quarterback and let Will Levis transfer. And then he had that big year, and then I was like, crap. Last year, he didn't look anything special last year. So maybe that's just a little bit of bias, but if Penn State wanted Sean Clifford over Will Levis,
it's interesting.
I don't know that I want him in the first round.
Right.
If you're a rebuilding team and you don't feel you have I think worst pick that the Texans could make, especially with DeMeco Ryans as their head coach, they're gonna need a quarterback who isn't as much of a project.
So I don't know. I do think it's a project. I think his ceiling is like could potentially be like the player Mitch Trubisky was supposed to be.
Still
like just making
plays
plays on the runs, playing plays on the run like fast enough, like just kind of a improviser.
Yeah.
And floor is like just Jake Locker, just kind of never really got together and kind of got hurt. Just like kind of an athletic, not a freak, but like pretty dang athletic.
Yeah.
4, I actually have Hendon Hooker. He's usually the 5. I think Will Levis will be drafted top 15. I think a lot of people are going to take him, and I do think Hooker will be drafted probably in the mid-second. But I do like Hooker more. I think he has potential to be a Deshaun Watson type player, like a good pocket passer, a little thin. he's not going to give you a ton of rushing yards, but he'll get you like he's enough of a dual threat to like
he can scramble when
he can
needs
scramble
it.
definitely. And floor is like maybe just a little more mobile Teddy Bridgewater, like a very very serviceable backup. And if like he has to start 5 games for you, you're not afraid because like
Right.
he just won't turn the ball over. But yeah, Hooker's interesting. I think he really surprised some people last year. Just for a while, Tennessee was just like number one team in the country. They were like winning some really good games, beat Alabama. If he didn't get hurt, like he very well could have won the Heisman. Like he was having a really good year, balling out for sure. He has good size. He has good patience. He has good footwork. And as I said, a very solid dual threat quarterback. And like he does have like I said he's thinner, but it's like I think he does have enough size to like continue at the next level. He's not gonna be like this big burly like Josh Allen guy,
Right.
but big enough that like I don't think people have an issue with it. Um, but I think with his negatives, it is kind of a bummer deal. That's like he will be 25 coming into the draft
And the ACL.
and the ACL. So that's
tough.
kind of two big deals. Like he will be an older rookie, not as old as Brennan Whedon, but older. He's
Stetson.
he'll be right around the same age as like Lamar and like Justin Herbert, which they've been in the league for 3 or 4 years at this point. He struggles with throwing on the run, which he'll probably have to like get a lot better at, which is especially when you're running from athletic freaks, like you got to be able to do that.
Which is hard coming off an ACL tear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Can sail his throws a bit and like doesn't really protect himself the way he should when he's running the ball. So kind of like a Jalen Hurts type player there. Just some of those things can be tuned a little bit. But I think he does show enough like promise and like he is smart that I think he could be like I think he could be a good player. I don't think he's like a generational like this guy is going to be something spectacular, but I think he could be good.
He'll make a career like Teddy did. Teddy Bridgewater. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So mid to late
I see
second. 3, I have Anthony Richardson, mainly just because of the athletic freak that he is. His ceiling is Cam Newton, and his floor is Cam Newton, but with the Patriots.
With the shoulder injury.
Yeah, the shoulder injured, like Patriots bounce around, just kind of like sad Cam Newton. I do think he is my favorite quarterback just because he's so intriguing. Like, just the combine was like set on fire by him. Like, he runs a 4.4 at like 240 pounds and like 6'4", 5 or whatever. He's just massive, just like super athletic. Cannon, his vertical is insane. Just all of this, like, it's just cool. It's just like, okay, like, he's going to be fun in Madden, at least.
Yeah, at the very least, that's what you get.
I don't think I am as one again, just because of the boom bust nature of Will Levis, but he's just like a step higher of like if he's not, he might not be a great NFL quarterback, but I don't see a case where he's not a good fantasy quarterback if he's a starter, right?
Right.
Because of just the rushing.
Well, and I think he's gonna go number 1.
Do you still?
I
have more on that. I'll tell you in a sec.
Gotcha.
But if he just somehow unlocks his potential, like he could be a QB1 in like fantasy. He could be a top 5 quarterback in the league. Like he has that much skill
MVP candidate
or potential. But he's so raw. He only played 13 games, I'm pretty sure, which is like Trey Lance type, scary.
Yep.
Risky. His mechanics are raw. He has little experience playing in college. But the thing is, like, I'm pretty sure that can be coached, where his physical tools can't. So he'll go top 15. My number 2 is CJ Stroud. I think his ceiling could be just like it's hard to say this because Joe Burrow is so good, but like a Joe Burrow maybe type player, maybe not to the same level of play, but a Joe Burrow type player of like he'll get you a lot of passing yards, and he's like poised in the pocket and is just a winner. And he can move a little bit, you know, like you're not afraid of him just like, oh no, he's just stuck in the pocket. Like he can scramble a little bit. I think he will be a good pro. He's a good arm and like actually the best accuracy out of this class from what a lot of scouts and like personnel are saying. Like he's like the most like natural, like accurate quarterback. He has very good decision making, plays well against top competition, which we saw in Georgia last year. Like he played very well against Georgia. Like I believe it, and I think you were saying it, but I really think the only reason they lost was just like that Marvin Harrison Jr. injury.
And in my outlook here, that's my biggest. I'm out on Stroud of the top four. I think. Well, I think he's better than a better prospect than Will Levis, but
Yeah.
But I think, I don't think he's the safest bet to be a pro in this league.
Sure.
The elite. Had made good decisions in college, but he also. He's thrown to Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and JSN like at the same time, and then he gets Marvin Harrison, and they were up big in that game against Georgia when Harrison went out, and all of a sudden like he looked fine, but really one more touchdown, and I forget I forget the rest of that game. As far as turnovers and stuff.
Yes. Stetson was the man.
And the Ohio State defense, but one more drive, one more touchdown, and if one guy goes down, especially in college, Marvin Harrison had a really good year. So did C.J. Stroud, and so I'm wondering how much that
the elite receivers
really helped him.
Sure.
Justin Fields is another example of that from Ohio State.
Right.
And you see that with Dwayne Haskins, although he had some issues with
work ethic.
Yeah. Yeah. Terrell Pryor. He's stuck in the league because he transferred to wide receiver.
Right.
I think of Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, and C.J. Stroud. In my opinion, I think C.J. Stroud is the highest
below
boom
Richardson.
Bust. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair.
For that reason, but that's the debate everyone's having right now is those three. And Will Levis shouldn't be in the first round, but some team's going to get stuck with him.
Yeah.
So.
I project Stroud will probably... I had him in a top 5, but actually just the last few weeks have really changed that for me. There's rumors that the Texans actually don't want to select a quarterback at 2, which means I don't think they like Stroud.
Like we were talking about earlier, I think Stroud at 2, and if they can get JSN at 12 or whatever, I think that's the only way I would draft CJ Stroud.
Right, if they could get him. But yeah. I think he will go top 10. And I think if you get him as your franchise quarterback, you really have nothing to worry about. I think he's at least serviceable. But yeah, so number 1, this is obvious. It's Stetson Bennett. No, I'm kidding. Bryce Young from Alabama. The ceiling, this was another tough one because it's he's only going to compare to small quarterbacks. He's such a small guy. So I have a ceiling is Drew Brees, floor is Doug Flutie, which that's kind of a low floor. I don't really know who else to throw in there. It's a small guy, maybe Fran, but if Tarkenton, but he was Fran good.
Played.
Anyways. Young is very small. I think he's the smallest quarterback to be drafted in the first round or something like that. Let's just say in a very long time. He's 5'10", and I think he's under 200 pounds, which a lot of people are going to be worried about. But he is a baller. He's cool. He's calm. He's collected. You've seen him. He's been the guy in Alabama for a while. Just makes good plays, and. It's interesting, when the other Alabama quarterbacks before him, Tua and Mac Jones, they had really good weapons, and this was kind of a down few years for Alabama when it comes to pass catchers. He did not have the same amount of weapons. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Is just he played well when he didn't have elite talent to throw the ball to. Doesn't offer much on the ground, which is kind of even if he did, I don't know if you would want him to run with just kind of how thin he is.
Right.
But if you get him a solid O-line, or just kind of just teach him how to just protect himself well, his body well, he's going to win you a lot of games
For sure. I think, I'm with you there. I think he's the best prospect in this group.
And it's like, and even like when the pass rush is like into him, like he has to like run, like he has a good enough like awareness and like a mobility to like kind of get out of there, but it's like he's not gonna break off huge runs. But yeah, I don't know. I just see him as a winner. He carries himself as such. Really, his only concern is gonna be his weight, and it's like if that's really your concern, it's like I don't know. I just see him as a baller, a winner, and it's like if he was 2 inches taller and 10 pounds heavier, it's like no one would be concerned. So it's like really the only worry you have is like his longevity, like how long is he gonna really last?
And I think if Denver hadn't done the Russ deal, I mean they would have been picking top 5. They probably, I mean, without Russ last year, whew, there's no way they would have been any better. There's a very good chance that they would have lost more games. Well, maybe, I don't know. Russ was really bad, but I think him with Sean Payton, I think that would be really cool to see. But Russ isn't going anywhere. Sean Payton signed there to be with Russ, basically.
Right.
But,
so what you were saying earlier is how you thought Richardson would go 1. I thought so too, just for the fact that it's the Panthers and Frank Reich is the coach now, and he was saying some interesting things of like, well, if I had my choice, I would pick Richardson or yada yada. And I was just like, okay, it's either going to be it's a coin flip between the 3, but I'm leaning toward Richardson. But something that happened the last week is Bryce Young actually canceled all the phone calls with like any other top 10 teams after you heard calls from like the Texans and the Panthers. And usually when that happens, when they're asked to stop taking calls, it's like, okay, like he's going to be the first pick. Like he already has his.
He's going to be 1 or 2, that's for sure.
So I really think he'll go 1. Unless for some reason the Panthers try and get too cute, which I don't know why they would. Like, I don't know. I think he is the best, the most polished.
That's an interesting.
I think 1 will be either Young for the safe, just like okay, he's good, or the Richardson of like this guy's a freak. It'll be one of them.
I still think with that, it's interesting, but I think Richardson's still the guy. I mean, they made that trade right after the combine, after he, broke all those records. He had an incredible combine. It's intriguing. I mean, if he's still taking calls with the Texans and Panthers, I think the Texans are saying, "Hey, we're going to take you if you're at 2."
They better.
They should. That's for sure, and they should still take JSN at 12. But I think for that reason, I think Richardson is still going to the Panthers at 1. I do think the team around the offensive weapons that they brought in to Carolina might fit Bryce Young better than Richardson. But because DJ Shark, Adam Thielen,
Terrace Marshall.
Terrace Marshall. Intriguing, but not guys that you probably want a more raw quarterback. I mean, Thielen's going to be your safety valve, and Hayden Hurst is there, but then you've got your runner. They brought in Miles Sanders. Like, it does feel like, the more I think about it, maybe they're building a team around Bryce Young. But at the same time, like, they made that trade there's no doubt in my mind they made that trade with the Bears because of Anthony Richardson and what he did at the combine.
Right. And that's kind of what I was leaning towards.
Because
it's just been interesting with those weird phone calls.
Right. Because he was like, everyone's like, I mean, Will Levis was 3 and Richardson was 4, and he was probably going to fall to them. But then he did that.
Right.
That's my biggest. I'm sure they can change their mind, but I think it'll be Richardson, Bryce Young, and then
Stroud.
And then Stroud for sure. But I think Richardson and Bryce Young go 1-2.
Sure. So yeah, and then so when it comes to fantasy, I think really the only guys I would like would be Bryce Young and Richardson.
Yeah.
I think Bryce Young has the good floor, and Richardson for just like maybe even like super flex, like as your second quarterback or something, or like rookie drafts, you should probably go 1 super flex.
I think I like Bryce Young more in a dynasty stash situation.
Sure.
I'm not sure how I feel about him in Houston, if that's where he goes. If he goes to Carolina, I like him a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Richardson, I guess it's whoever goes to Carolina. I like way better to stick on your bench and hope they hit like Trevor Lawrence did this. I guess he wasn't a rookie, but
with the right coach.
I think Frank Reich.
Really
I think Frank Reich is that guy. I mean, he was a quarterback, so he can definitely help Richardson grow as a passer, and yeah.
So yeah, I have Bryce Young as one.
I like him the best, but I do think Anthony Richardson's going to go number one.
Sure. Well, there you have it, folks. The 406 and goal.
Another
Pre-draft
hour-long
rankings.
podcast.
So yeah, I think that's really all we're going to cover today. I'm going to have one more question. Ben, of all of the people listed, who would you say would be the best value pick that you would take in like a fantasy draft?
In a fantasy situation. Obviously dependent on where he goes, but I'm looking at the wide receivers for value. I think Bijan's going to get reached for. I think if Bijan's there in the 3rd round, 4th round, like Breece Hall was last year.
Which I don't think he will.
I don't think he will be, but I think that's where you get value from him. Just because the rookie running back thing is, it is a flyer, especially at a position now that
doesn't matter as much in years past.
Yeah, if you're going to build your team, you don't want to be screwed over by what Najee did last year in the 1st round. But Jackson Smith and Jigba, I think he is my favorite wide receiver of this group. And looking at what Olave and Garrett Wilson did last year, if he gets put in a situation where he's a number 2 even, I like him in the 7th, 8th, 9th round. Sure. Unfortunately, the Jamar Chases, Garrett Wilsons, Chris Olaves of the past 2 years, they're definitely pushing the stock up on any
wide receiver
rookie that's breaking into the league. But
especially for the dynasty formats. I really like JSN, and I'm really excited for Zach Charbonnet. Because I think he'll be we're looking at our dynasty sleeper ranking for sleeper the dynasty rankings. I think he's a 5th round pick. So he's kind of around the Miles Sanders, below Ramondre and Pollard, but above a James Conner, kind of that area. He's just young. And just a good running back, big guy, has good hands, and actually played against good teams. Before he was in UCLA, he was at Michigan and then transferred. Yeah. So I just kind of like the frame, and just he does have a big enough body to absorb the NFL, I think. So I think he'd just have a longer career. So I would probably just I'd be enticed to take him over some of those other guys who are getting a little older.
I think whatever team gets him in the NFL draft, I think they're going to find value where he would fall, I think.
And I think whoever takes him would want him to be their bell cow.
Yeah. Or work his way into that.
Or even heck, even if the Bengals took him in the 2nd, that would be nice.
The Charbonnet, the Bengals, I like that.
That would be nice, wouldn't it?
End of 1st even. Well, I mean, what else do they need?
A running back and maybe just I don't know, some defensive depth or something.
Yeah.
Anyways, folks, I think that's all we have. Just thank you for listening, especially after I guess just the breaks that we've had and just trying to get into the rhythm of things.
Yeah, I'm trying to do this every
other week.
Is what we're shooting for, at least for the off season. Maybe pick it up once training camp starts.
I think so, and then just be more regular when the regular season starts.
Get ready for some team previews this summer.
I think so. I think we're going to do team previews. I think I'll probably cover AFC. Ben will cover NFC. Nick will be back. It'll be interesting. It'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be good.
But yeah, listen to us on Spotify, YouTube, everything.
Miss you, Nick.
Miss you, Nick. See you soon. In 6 and goal out.